What is the worst shotgun in Fortnite history? We have another banger video from Resub. I'm gonna watch it and see if I agree and give my own opinions on these shotguns.
Fortnite has released 27 different shotguns since its release.
27.
What is the worst shotgun in Fortnite history? Well, I'm gonna rank every single one of them
Right off the rip, without even thinking too much, I'm gonna say two-shot shotgun is the worst one, or the, if you count this, the makeshift shotgun.
One suck, and which one?
That's without really thinking too hard.
Perfect meta. All right, the OG pump. Let's be real. If you think about the game, you're gonna think about the pump shotgun and probably like the Scar or the regular assault rifle.
Yeah, I mean it's A tier.
This
or
is an S tier gun.
Oh, he's counting the gold and purple version. I thought it was just gonna be like the up to blue. Yeah, it's an S tier if we're counting the spaz.
A 1v1, a red versus blue.
I mean, it's S tier regardless, but it's,
always see like the random newbie skins, whoever they may be, jumping in. They always carry a gold pump. Despite all the other shotgun variations there, it stood the test of time. And if it was to be put back into the current meta, back in OG, they actually removed the damage cap from this. So a gold could do a 203 headshot damage. So the one pump's still in. I mean, the real question is there going to be any other shotguns that
it's so much better when it can do one pump.
Tactical shotgun. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I am not a fan of the tactical
shotgun.
Oh,
really? I actually really like the tac.
Rarities, it's very, very well balanced. It is possible to
I actually really like it. It's one of my favorite like fast shotguns or auto shotguns.
It feels like a very well balanced gun. Now, the big issue I have with the tactical shotgun in terms of balance is the purple and gold variants. Now, they're just kind of like
those are OP
stupid weapons. I'll be totally honest with you. The purple deals 75 structure damage, whereas the gold does 79. So what players ended up doing with this was just looking at a wall. If there's a player on the other side of it, they just pre-fire, damage the wall.
Yeah.
That means if the player edits, they'll get hit. If they don't edit, then they damage the wall the same amount as a pickaxe would. So you can just stand there.
Yeah,
shoot,
it's
reload,
actually one of the strongest
reload.
auto shotguns.
And for that, I don't believe the tactical shotgun is actually very well balanced at all. So I'm going to put it down into C tier.
I guess he's not just ranking them based on strength. He's ranking them on if they are balanced, which makes sense because there's some shotguns that are really, really OP and not good for the game. I do think C tier is a little bit low for the auto shotgun though, because I feel like there's other auto shotguns that are obnoxious. And I think maybe the purple and gold version is really strong, but I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of like a low rating.
Purple variants, I'd probably put this into A tier because I think
that's fair. That's fair.
Outside of that, next up is the heavy shotgun. Now I hate the
heavy.
Shotgun
heavy
with a deep burning desire.
I hate it. It's so hard to hit with it.
Introduced, the idea of it is this is a slightly more longer range shotgun. We have a lot of variations of.
It doesn't even have that good range.
The first iteration of a shotgun that was longer range, meant to deal higher.
The Ranger shotgun is better at long range. The combat is better.
Incredibly inconsistent.
It's so inconsistent.
Could do over 200 damage to the headshot. Yeah, it just never.
Was that a 300?
It seems to be the most consistent shotgun at hitting like 20s, 30s, maybe the occasional 40 and 50.
Yeah, I'll put this in D or F tier.
I've always had this deep burning hatred for it ever since. For me, I think this is an A tier gun because it ends up being very well balanced.
See, this, I'm not gonna lie, this tier list is confusing me. I get what he's trying to do. I guess he's putting the tier based on balance alone. In my head, I'm rating it based on how effective it is. I hate the heavy shotgun. It's bad. It shouldn't even be in the loot pool. So in my head, it's D or F.
I like the gunplay that you.
It's okay. I don't have to agree with his ratings.
The other variation, of course, is the single pellet. I can't even speak. The single pellet variation that ended up being added in. And for me, this is kind of an interesting weapon to be put into the game because holding down
single pellet
means it's 100% accurate with a single bullet, that is, which can deal massive damage. So it's very high skill.
It was kind of hard to use.
But if you hit fire, it's kind of just RNG where that single bullet is going to land within the crosshair. I don't particularly like RNG weapons like that at all.
Yeah.
If it was 100% accurate, that might be really, really cool. But to be honest, it's just too RNG. It's too luck-based.
It's very random.
And if not, you just have to sit in ADS, which is just very clunky and just kind of slow. So for me, the single shot, I'm putting that down in D tier. Yeah, shout out to the heisted breacher shotgun.
Okay, this one was broken, bro. The heisted breacher shotgun
version of this, which dealt 185
it was so broken, bro.
Shot, which was insanely broken.
One shots
I have
all
vivid
walls.
memories, and not memories, let's be real, they were actually just nightmares of people using this against me, replacing my wall every single time. We're currently in the Nitro season where everyone can just run through and
It was
break every
basically
build.
like
So I
Nitro
actually
on a
think
gun.
Maybe the Heisted Breacher shotgun would be perfect for this meta. It's already bad enough. Just chuck this in as well. I need to tweet that. Hold on. All right, next up, we have the double
didn't rate
barrel
it.
shotgun. Now, I'm going to be controversial here and say this is completely awful. Now, if you're in someone's face,
It's only really good if you're right in someone's face. And then the exotic version of this gun is kind of working against itself, because if you guys remember, you kind of push people away from you, but you need them to stay close to you so that you can actually do more damage to them. I think the exotic shotgun of the double barrel shouldn't push people away. It should actually pull them to you. It should have like a gravity effect that pulls them to you, so your second shot hits harder.
in their box, it has the capabilities for you to be able to two-shot them almost instantly. The max body shot damage of this is 114 with the epic variation and 120 with the gold, and you can just hit 2 max body shots and just be able to wipe someone out instantly. But then you have to sit and reload the gun. It also has 0 range to it, so you can't.
But you could
open
double pump
fight
with
a
it
big shotgun
back then.
tank, and then
In
try
Chapter
to
3,
get
you
the
could
box
double
and
pump
play
with
how
it.
Majority of fights end up actually playing out. You just have to kind of hope that you get into their box and then hit both of the shots. And if you don't hit both the shots, then you're kind of left in the mud as well. Double barrel shotgun straight down into the F tier.
I don't
Again,
disagree with
shout
that.
out to the exotic version back in Chapter 2 season, I want to say 7? Chapter 2 season 5. My memory's awful. There we go. This was incredibly busted, as every time you shot this, it just gave you kind of propulsion that fired you backwards. I vividly remember
And you could double
Cammy
pump.
using this a lot
It had
in the
no
solo catch until
shotgun
it got
delay.
removed. But again, we're not including exotics on this list because they'd clearly just be super broken and amazingly good. Next, we have the combat shotgun. Now, I honestly used to hate the shotgun with a burning
It's
passion. How many
okay
times
right
I've said
now.
that in this
It's
video
actually
already?
okay
I
right
mean,
now. It
twice,
used to be
but that
really
is
powerful in
far too
Chapter
many
1. It was
already. Back
broken in
Chapter
Chapter 1.
Season X, when this was released, this was one of the most broken weapons Fortnite has ever added.
Yep.
The meta was combat shotgun, pump, and tactical shotgun, if I remember correctly. Who cares? The tactical isn't even relevant to this conversation. If you had a pump and you were going against a player who was good and had the combat shotgun, they could just deal so much damage to you at range before
Yep.
you really even had a chance. You couldn't use your pump to damage them because you'd probably deal like a 20 or 30, whereas they're dealing 80 damage to you at that range. If you had an assault rifle or an SMG, you were not out damaging someone with a combat shotgun.
Yeah,
However,
yeah.
it was since nerfed and then buffed a little bit again, where in the current season, Chapter 5, Season 3, it actually feels really good, and I feel
It's
like
pretty
it is
balanced
actually
right
good
now.
balance. It's weak if you're up in box because it's so difficult to hit shots, but at that medium to long range, it does a really good job of
Yeah,
dealing
especially like the legendary and
considerable
mythic
damage
version.
to the point where you get punished for making poor rotations by guys just holding you with a combat shotgun. For that, in my eyes, a weapon that I used to hate, where I would
B
used to put
tier,
down in F,
A tier.
I'm actually going to put the current combat shotgun up in S tier. Behind the pump, of course.
I would say B or A.
I have no idea why I said S.
Okay.
Next.
I'm not gonna lie. I was so confused as to why I put it in S tier. I was like, agree to disagree.
The drum shotgun.
Oh God.
I've
Yeah.
got a bit of an all-timer
He
here.
didn't even spend any time on the drum. It was just F tier.
Charge shotgun, first introduced in Chapter 2.
Everyone
Season
hated the
3.
charge when it
This
first
thing
came
was
out,
really
but it
interesting.
required
If
you to
weren't playing
know
whenever
how to
it's
adjust your
season,
playstyle.
essentially all you need to do is hold down the charge, and it will essentially gain damage the longer you hold it until a max. Now, this at the time was actually the first season that removed the pump, so I feel like the charge shotgun got a lot of hatred when it first came out. because
Yeah.
It wasn't very good. It's kind of clunky to use because you don't have that initial like tap fire that you can with a pump shotgun. You can't deal immediately. There is a bit of delay. However, it deals massive damage at good range, and it's an incredibly skillful weapon to use.
It's a very skillful
in
weapon.
particular when it comes to team modes. Now, I've always loved metas which have had both the charge shotgun and the pump. I think they've been some of the best. So for me, I'm going to put the charge shotgun up into the S tier.
I would
Next
put
up,
it in
we
A tier,
have
but
the Dragon's Breath. Now, a lot of people
Ooh.
really like
This one was slept
shotgun.
on.
It's
I
essentially
love
a
the Dragon
much
Breath.
better version of the double barrel shotgun that I put straight down into F tier before. It does massive body shot damage in epic, doing
156 or 158. Yep.
and in gold doing 165.
It's almost
in
a
single
one
shot,
pump.
which is incredibly busted. Plus, if you're not playing in competitive modes, it drops fire all
And that
around
pretty
you.
much finishes them off.
Again, this is not in tournament because fire is not enabled in tournaments because it creates horrific lag, so you didn't necessarily have that effect when playing tournaments. However, huge damage coming out of this shotgun, but of course it does have the drawback of only having a single bullet in the chamber, whatever the word is for that.
Yeah.
So you have to reload it after every single one,
And it took like
obviously
5
the
seconds to reload.
of you double barrel at the same time. To me, a lot of people
Look
love
how
this
good
item
it
and would
was, though.
probably put it in A/B tier. I think this is going to be a B tier shotgun for me personally, because
Very
I'm
niche,
not a huge
very
fan
niche
of
shotgun.
things that are just kind of gimmicky like this. But you know, there were a lot of teams who were using it when it was in the meta for one single season in Chapter 2, Season 5. Lever action shotgun. Oh my goodness, this thing is some trash.
Boo.
Okay, just awful. This is truly
It's
one
so
of the worst
bad.
shotguns Fortnite
I'm
has
sorry,
ever
Nick A30. It's
put
so
into the game.
bad.
Double barrel, okay, horrific. That's an immediate F
Look,
tier.
it's Nick A30 using it, and he
The
died.
lever action shotgun, this is the tickle monster right here. This is doing nothing at all. I don't even know if it's possible to hit a max damage shot with this. I think the only person off the top of my head who likes this is Nick A30. Love my boy Nick A30. Congratulations on his icon skin. But this gun is some trash. This thing is
It's
awful.
so
the
bad.
Huge reticule means it's really difficult to hit a max damage shot, even if you're like right up in their face.
25.
Now, it does have one or two things going for it here, which is the faster fire rate and the fast pull-out time. So you can be quick with it, you can make edit plays and shoot them, but you're hitting for 40s, 50s. It basically creates a lot of unnecessary editing and mechanical plays that you have to do in order to use this shotgun effectively, and you have to be right up in their face. Now, if the meta only had lever shotguns, for example, in Chapter 2, Season 5, when it was introduced, which was the one we mentioned earlier, which was the season which had no pumps, if I could be right. Either way, I think the meta that had charge, lever,
I'd still take the
fire
charge.
shotgun we just talked about, which I've forgotten already. So without pumps, the lever action kind of fit into the meta, but it returned in Chapter 3 or 4. I can't remember particular which season, and it was awful. This thing was truly horrific in the season it returned, and anytime you found it on the floor, it was just a waste of time.
Yep.
Get this out of here. F tier shotgun. I feel like everything in my list here is just going S or F. Makeshift. Now this is an interesting shotgun. There was actually a few...
So I'm gonna say, like, the makeshift shotgun, it's not a strong shotgun on its own, right? But if you knew how to quickly get the mechanical parts and then access the crafting menu, if you got a blue makeshift, you now have a purple spaz, just like that, like in the beginning of the game.
People who had decided in the season that was in, which is Chapter 2, Season 6, to just run this by itself. It was fast, it had a good reload time, it actually dealt good damage if you hit a good headshot because it had such a small reticule. Now, obviously the gimmick in this season was that you could upgrade it. I like the idea of growing up rarities, but to be honest, a lot of the times back then you just end up with something super broken. This shotgun was pretty good at the time, but we're just going to put it into C tier. Very well balanced, but I definitely wouldn't want to see this return again. Speaking of Chapter 2, Season 6, the primal shotgun.
God.
This has got to go down as maybe the most broken shotgun added.
Yeah.
Now, at this time, I was still playing
And they
controller,
nerfed it,
I
and it was
probably
still
put this in,
broken.
like 10 different videos. But at that moment, you could just run into anyone's box, and the way it worked was it was an auto shotgun, but it shot 2 shots, like doo-doo, 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 making some dance tune here or something like that. But each of those single shots would do like 50, so you could just do 200 damage like that, no problem at all. It was an absolute monster, and I think that's probably some of the best, actually, probably some of the highest frags I've ever gotten in tournaments was just running this thing because it was insanely busted on controller. Put that into F tier. All right, the auto shotgun. Now, auto shotgun in my eyes is basically...
I forgot about this.
It's just a buff tactical shotgun. It has the exact same fire rate, which is 1.5, but it has a little bit higher
It was just like the Chapter 2 version of the auto.
It still felt very weak when it was in the meta.
Yeah.
And that was essentially just because the pull-out time was so slow.
It was
Now,
very
this
slow.
was much more damaged in terms of structure damage. So you can
It
do
was
that same
very
strategy
slow.
where you just stand on someone's wall and just shoot, reload, shoot, reload. It was a bit more of a balanced version, but the slower pull-out time is always something I really despise in these guns. So I'm going to put this into B tier. The Striker Pump Shotgun. This is when Epic just decided to start replacing
the pump,
with
pretty
guns
much.
that are also called pump, but make
It's
them
pretty much the
slightly
same.
different, for I don't know why reasons. Now, the thing I really don't like about the Striker
that guy
pump
could not get
is
out the
actually
box.
The fire rate. Now, on release, it was 0.6. Now, this means
Didn't they have to
absolutely
buff
nothing you,
it?
But for reference, the shotgun and the normal pump shotgun, I mean, is 0.7. So the higher, the faster. So essentially, the Striker pump shoots a little bit slower than the pump shotgun. Now, they
That
buffed
actually
this-
was actually very awkward. Like, I always felt like when it first came out in Chapter 3, it was really awkward to use this
to
gun.
0.65 rather than 0.7.
I don't know why they
But
didn't.
it was still
just do-
slightly slower than the pump. And the problem with this is that this created some really awkward muscle memory.
Yeah.
Where you think you were able to shoot it, but you would try to shoot and you would fail. Now,
Yeah.
you could say that's a skill issue, and that's
It is a
probably
skill
because it
issue,
is
but
an absolute skill
after
issue.
using
But
the
it was
pump
just
for so
annoying
many
and something
years.
I didn't quite like about this weapon, but it did a high amount of body shot damage. So 126 body shot is really, really strong with a gold. So what this meant was it kind of flipped, where you were dealing really small amounts of damage in Chapter 3, Season 1, the season before, and now when you took this, every single shot you were shooting with this is
100.
like 100, maybe 110. Obviously depends on the variant you have.
Even if it's not a
really
headshot.
hard to hit a minimum damage shot. You either hit a big shot or completely nothing with it. Outside of that, it has good range. I think it was nicely balanced, but body shot damage was maybe a little bit too high. So for me, I'm going to put this into B tier because it does get a little bit frustrating just continually getting chunked over and over and over again. In Chapter 3, Season 3,
The Ranger
Chapter
shotgun.
3, Season 2,
I actually
we
think it's a
also saw the
really
addition
well
of the
balanced,
Ranger shotgun.
really
This
strong
was just
shotgun.
kind of, in my eyes, a little bit gimmicky. Now, the Ranger shotgun has a single shot in the clip,
But it has
similar to,
really
like,
good
the
range.
Fire shotgun. I keep forgetting the name of that we talked about earlier. But
And it
every time
reloads
you shoot it,
fast.
you're going to have to reload after it. And the point of this was yet again another long-range shotgun rather than a close in-range box. But another issue with these, which I have not yet mentioned, is the fact that shotgun delay exists. So you can't really use this as an in-box shot. If you miss, it's just over, and then you're going to have to try and spray someone for 200 to do. So it's very, very risky to take. The ability to hit people at range is great. That's not the goal of most players when they carry a shotgun.
Yeah, but the
It's for
Ranger was
wall-to-wall
actually really
in-box
useful in
action.
zero builds.
So I would put this down into
It's not really
F tier.
talking about that, but
However,
in
for
zero build it was
players,
very
I imagine
strong.
the
Oh yeah,
Ranger shotgun might
there it
be
is.
quite good as a swap weapon. So I'm going to put this up to D tier, which is still pretty bad. The two-shot shotgun.
I didn't like
The
this.
two-shot shotgun is
I didn't like it.
incredibly good, but also at the same time incredibly
felt very
frustrating
awkward.
to use. Now, this works like a burst, so I don't know why Epic seem to love burst weapons in this chapter, and they seem to be trying to implement burst weapons a lot, but a burst shotgun is just kind of strange. Now, similar to the Primal, this shoots two shots, one directly after each other, and it has a max magazine size of 8. So essentially you get 4 bursts before you need to reload. So for each individual shot, it didn't actually do that much damage. So a lot of the times what you find players do is try to shoot this at people, but they would just kind of either maybe hit one bullet and then miss the second, or they would just try and like put up an edit or try and build in front of it. And it was very, very frequent where you'd only hit a single one of the shots. However, I will mention at the time, this was incredibly strong if used correctly in close proximity. You could really deal some incredible damage with it. But again, it's a little bit clunky, so for me, I think I'm going to put the 2-shot into B tier.
I'd put it even
in Chapter
lower.
4, this was another variation of the pump.
The
that was
Prime.
kind of gimmicky, which was the Prime
I
shotgun.
like the Prime.
There's a lot of people I've seen on Twitter over the years ask the Prime shotgun to return, and it was interesting
That
because
first
I'm
shot
not a particular
hit harder.
fan of gimmicky weapons for the most part. Now, if you don't remember, the Prime shotgun dealt significantly more damage with the first shot in the clip rather than the other 3 shots. So it had 4 shots total in the magazine. So this meant that you were really rewarded for shooting a shot, reloading, shooting another shot at the player in that way. And if you got into a box and you'd used a single bullet and then you had to switch back to the shotgun, it meant that those subsequent shots were going to do significantly less damage. Now, to me, a lot of people felt this was really well balanced because the actual damage parameters that it was doing were really good. However, as I mentioned, I'm not a big fan of continually having to reload shotguns.
You didn't
over
have
and
to
over and
reload,
over
but
again.
if you would just wanted
I
the
felt
most
like it was
damage.
just a bit of an unnecessary mechanic to have in the game. Despite that, a lot of people feel it's very balanced, and I do as well, so I'm going to put it into the A tier. Evo Chrome, my god.
F.
What a weird shotgun.
F
Now, I
tier.
really appreciate what Epic were trying to do with the Evo Chrome shotgun. However, it felt like the shotgun just never did any damage. And there was the upgrading effect of it too, which meant that as you shoot more
I like
players,
the
up
upgrading
damage
effect. I just wish
increases
they would
more
bring that
and
back
more
for
over time.
different
now, the
guns.
mechanic was kind of just silly because eventually what would end up happening here is that players just continually shoot at NPCs, which did end up getting removed from comp, so they didn't actually become a problem there. But the gimmick was just kind of silly, just to upgrade based on the amount of damage you've dealt with it. Again, the Prime shotgun.
No, I don't
in
think
this
that's.
season
I
and
actually
really
don't think it's silly. I think it's
overshadowed
silly that you
this. So
can
for me,
farm up
Evo Chrome
NPCs,
shotgun,
but
I'm just
I
putting
think
that
they
straight
should
into F tier.
re-experiment
It
with
was very
that
powerful, but I
mechanic.
just don't like it, and I don't think I don't think it works well in Fortnite. Let's be real. Get out of there. Next up, we have the Thunder Pump shotgun. Is it called Thunder Pump or is it called Thunder?
I didn't like this one too much, but it is solid. I just didn't like it too much.
This is basically one of those other replications of the pump where they really could have just in this season not added the shotgun altogether and just instead put the main pump shotgun in. But the main difference here really was the fact that similar to some of the other shotguns, it had 4 shots in the shell.
That four shots was actually really bad. I really wish it had 5
It had
shots.
8, but it used 2 shotgun shells every time you shot. Now, this was really frustrating on release, because on release it only had 6, aka 3 shots.
Oh my
to
god.
Continually reload the thunder shotgun, and it is not a fast
3
shotgun
shots?
either. So
that's
by increasing
awful.
that
I
up
forgot
to
it was that
4
bad.
shotgun shots total within 1 magazine, it's got significantly better. However, again, it's basically just exactly the same as a pump, a little bit faster fire rate, but with more
Awkward
frustration,
reticle.
still having to reload it over and over again. So I'm going to put it into A tier. In that same season, we also had the Maven auto shotgun. Now this is, again,
Maven's
similar to
okay.
the Thunder Pump, just a replication of the tactical shotgun, but slightly different and skin different. I still don't know why Epic decided just to continually put these random new guns in that were just exactly the same as the Chapter 1 weapons, but name them something different. Anyway, that's for another time. The difference here was that the Maven shotgun actually dealt a considerable amount more damage, in particular to headshots. So the Blue, for example, did 85 body in comparison to the 80 of the tactical, and 148 headshot max in comparison to 120 of the tac. It does have a slightly slower fire rate, but it's not necessarily noticeable. So to me, out of all of the auto shotguns that we've covered so far, this is definitely the most balanced in my eyes, and I think I'm going to put this straight into the S tier. Now, of course,
that's
there was
fair.
also
That's
the
fair.
exotic version of
The
this, which
exotic
the
one was
Heisted
so
Accelerant
OP,
shotgun.
bro,
This is
especially in zero
the
build.
fire rate increased. So
And
if
your
you were
speed
just
increased
spamming at
too.
Players in endgame, or if you're playing zero build, this gun was so frustrating to fight against. Hopefully this gun never comes back. Next season, in Chapter 4 Season 2, we did have the Havoc.
The Havoc was a
shotgun.
hard-hitting
Pump
boy.
was one of my least favorite pump shotguns, I think I'm going to say out here.
The
This was
Mythic
kind of
version could do
similar to the Striker
250.
pump in a way that it was really easy to hit massive damage shots with it. With the
Yeah.
Blue, for example, a max
120
damage
body
shot,
shot.
120 damage. And this season, if you played it, you were basically continually getting chunked for massive body shot damage if they don't even hit your head. And of course, if they hit your head, there's even more damage than that as well.
Pretty much GG if they hit your head.
It's too easy to hit this big damage shot. And it's interesting because despite here, the equip animation is 1 second, the same as the pump shotgun. But I swear this gun feels incredibly slow when you pull it out.
I think
Maybe
the
it's
animation
because
just
I'm
looks
used to faster
awkward.
pulling out shotguns, which we'll come to later. The Havoc pump feels so horrific to use, and it's so easy to hit max big damage shots. So that for me, I didn't think it was particularly balanced.
It's not
Now,
balanced.
all of these shotguns were capped at under 200 damage, what they could do to headshots. There was a mythic version which was capped at 210 damage. So you
It's
could actually do
250
one pumps with the
initially.
mythic
It was
version,
actually
which is
initially
really
250.
fun,
You could
and
one-shot
still
people in
some
zero
creative
build.
maps have it in, but again, too much body shot damage. It feels a little bit clunky, but I'm going to put it in A tier because it's still a pretty good shotgun. We're coming on to what I will consider the laziest item in Fortnite history, the Sharp Tooth shotgun. Now, the Sharp Tooth shotgun.
Dude, what was this? I forgot about the Sharp Tooth. They just renamed, not even reskinned. They just renamed the pump and gave it crappy stats.
You might be looking at that item and you go, well, is that not just a pump shotgun? You
No.
would think it would be a pump shotgun.
It's
Was
not.
this a social experiment now that I'm looking back at it? Like, this must have been a social experiment. Because this is just a pump shotgun. Why have they just named this the Sharp Tooth shotgun and given it completely different mechanics? Is this like a nostalgia game? They're mind games. This was essentially another version of the long range shotgun. So it doesn't do as much max damage as the max of the gold ended up being around 165. However, it's
People ended up not
significantly
using
longer
this that much.
range. Now, this was really good for end games as you could do a lot of damage at that kind of mid range. This was in the same season as the Sharp Tooth shotgun that we just talked about, but we didn't really see that many players use it. Plus, this is lazy as hell. Get out here, Epic. This is going down into the C tier.
I'd put it in F.
For Season 4, they added the
Infiltrator
pump shotgun. Now, I do not respect this shotgun, as many minimums have been hit with this. Now, the goal of this shotgun was to be somewhere between a pump and a tactical shotgun. So somewhere between that gun,
Yeah, and it like
hits
didn't do
max
either
damage,
one
and
as
between an
well.
automatic shotgun that deals lots of damage repeatedly, but instead it sat in the middle and did neither of those well. It was a jack of all trades, but it was just horrible at all of those things. The fact that it is named a pump shotgun is insulting.
Yeah, it's
to
not
the
really a pump
other
at all.
15 pump shotguns that have been in Fortnite. This was added in Chapter 4 Season 4 and then just removed in OG. No changes, never seemed to see the light of day again. I'm kind of happy it hasn't. It can stay in the vault for now because this is a certifiable F tier shotgun. This season we also had the wood stake shotgun. Now this
one was
just
fun.
a reskinned version of the heavy shotgun that we saw earlier where it shoots a single pellet. I don't know, it was just rubbish. Get into F tier.
Hey, was
But at
it
the turn
rubbish? I thought it was kind of fun because it could hit really, really hard.
Chapter 5, we saw a new light. Epic Games decided to do something totally different, something revolutionary. They decided to make another pump shotgun. and call it the pump shotgun. Now, a lot
With
of people
attachments.
interestingly dislike this shotgun, but it's interesting because it's pretty much exactly the same stats as the
Yeah.
pump shotgun, but with slightly different damages. Now, the blue, for example, hits a max 94 damage in comparison to 110 with a pump shotgun, both the bodies, that is, but the headshots are relatively the same. So it's interesting that a lot
Just
of
a
people
little bit more
don't like
balanced.
the hammer pump, because it is actually probably a more balanced version of the pump shotgun. It also has a smaller crosshair, so it's a little bit easier to hit max damage shots than it
I
is
like
with
the pump.
shotgun, but it's
I
not
like
too
this
small
one.
where you'll find yourself continually hitting maxes.
I
think
mean,
the
I
hammer
like
pump
the.
shotgun is
I also like
probably the
OG
most
gold pump,
skillful
but
pump shotgun in the game, but you know, there's something
It's
about me
solid.
that just still loves a pump. I'm going to put this into A tier because the general consensus of it is not really that good across the entire community. However, I think it's probably the most balanced shotgun. If I want pumps, then I want to be hitting 200s. Let's be real. Get that shit over here. Chapter 5 also introduced the Frenzy Auto Shotgun. This had a significant higher
God, I
DPS.
hated the
Actually the highest
Frenzy,
of
bro. I
any
hated
shotgun
the
ever added to
Frenzy.
the game. However, it was still not my favorite version of an
So,
automatic
dude, the
shotgun
fact
at
that
all, and I
players,
still
even
prefer the
pro players,
tactical
stopped grabbing
or
the pump and they were
Maven,
all
really
just
any
using
other shotgun over
frenzies
this.
is
So I'm
crazy
gonna
to
put
me.
this down as a D tier because I just think it's a very unskillful weapon.
Very
I know a lot of
unskillful.
controller
Holy
players would be very
crap.
unhappy about this because they all loved their shotgun throughout the first couple seasons of this chapter.
Yep.
On to chapter 5, season 2, Gatekeeper Shotgun. Now,
I
this is
actually
gonna
like
be a
it. I didn't
controversial
like it
one.
at first,
The
but I
Gatekeeper
actually like
shotgun
it.
is probably one of the most unbalanced.
It is
guns
very
that Fortnite
unbalanced.
has ever
I
seen.
agree.
But in close quarters,
I like
this is
using
the
it though,
easiest shotgun
but it's very
ever to
unbalanced.
get elims
You just
with.
get
If
you
you're in
just
a
get
box
free
and you have
damage.
3 shots reloaded into
Medium
it,
range,
it's
close range.
incredibly difficult to not.
It's hard for them
two-tack
not to
someone.
die.
Of course, it's strong enough where if you hit 2 good shots, you can just two-tack someone or 2-shot someone with it and instantly wipe them out of the game. Now, it only has 3 bullets within the magazine, which does nerf it significantly. However, it kind of just creates stupid gameplay where it's way too easy to deal a lot of damage. So despite this being one of the best shotguns Fortnite's ever added, for
I was
damage,
actually
I'm
hoping
gonna
they
put
would
this
vault
down
this
to the
one.
C tier because I believe this is incredibly unbalanced, but it's allowed me to get some kills this season at least. Not many though. Now, our S tier shotguns create the perfect meta in my opinion. Your standard pump shotgun for big damage and just everyone was a pump, let's be real. The charge for slightly slower, a bit more clunkier, longer ranged, harder hitting damage, and then the Maven because you
See, for me, I think like if you're gonna have a perfect meta, you don't include the charge and include the pump. I would take the pump, the Maven, and then I would go for a gimmicky shotgun for my third one, whether that's double barrel, the dragon breath shotgun, like a single shot or a 2-shot shotgun.
kind of have to have an
Any one of the gimmicky shotguns
It's a favorite of a lot of the
to give like an alternative.
players. Now, which out of our F tier shotguns
Take,
is the
you know?
worst in my eyes? Well, I'm giving that crown to the lever action.
The lever
shotgun. Most
action.
of the others on this list have some sort of viability in their niche. The lever is just bested by every single other pump
It's
style
so bad.
shotgun,
It's
and
I
it has
don't
the
I agree with
worst
this.
accuracy ever to match. It's always frustrating to use, and I want to never see it again in Fortnite.
I hate that it's in Fortnite Reload right now.
Very frustrating. If you enjoy these tier
Guys, great video from Resub. If you guys have not already checked out his channel, subscribe to him. Definitely do. Thank you guys so much for watching. What do you think about these shotguns? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.